Jacksonville, Florida, where she served under three mayors as director of the city's public relations department. While there, she helped create the Jacksonville Jazz Festival, the Florida Film Festival held in Jacksonville, and the Jacksonville Film Commission. Then she moved to Los Angeles and was there 9 years and worked in the movie and TV industry producing programs. She's been a wonderful CEO of our chamber and will be missed very much. I hope they can find somebody half as good. That would be a great CEO. You can't believe how good she is. The good news is that she's not leaving us. She is the first CEO of Innovation Tri-Valley. Now speaking on Innovation Tri-Valley, please welcome Dale Kaye.
Thank you, John, and it's so nice to be here. Every time I'm here, I'm so impressed because I see a lot of familiar faces, but I'm also impressed with your tremendous generosity. It's just moving, and it's great to go to groups. I go to so many business organizations, and I don't always see that same spirit, so it's really lovely to be here and see what giving people you are and how important that is to this community. So how many of you know about anything about Innovation Tri-Valley? Very few. Okay. And how many of you think it might be the same thing as iGate? See, there is a lot of confusion because there were three initiatives and there was a simultaneity that really confused people. Innovation Tri-Valley and iGate and actually Livermore Valley Open Campus were all sort of announced at the same time. We all are great partners, but we are very different. Innovation Tri-Valley is a business-led organization, and it grew very organically out of an event that we put on some time ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, mostly using the lab's talent. But we put a full-day event on at the Robert Livermore Community Center, and what we did is showcase the assets of the Tri-Valley. And the CEO of Sybase at the time was our keynote speaker. And after the day was over, he looked around. We had panels all day long. He looked around and he said, "Why are we invisible? The Tri-Valley is amazing. The assets here are incredible. And the talent here are people who are changing the world. Why are we invisible? Because these businesses like Sybase and Chevron even and Adept Technology, and I don't know about the Laos per se, but their date lines when they were written up in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal all said Silicon Valley, even though they were not in Silicon Valley. Yeah. So we decided that maybe we needed to do something about that. And we started meeting in Sybase offices, and we started with a small group, Chevron, Adept Technology, the community colleges, the community college. And both labs, Sandia and Lawrence Livermore, and said, you know, what do we need to do? Is this a branding effort? We thought it was a branding effort. We thought in order to tell the world what we were, we first had to discover ourselves. So it became something about interconnectivity. The Tri-Valley, 5 distinct cities, I think you'll all agree, with their own culture, their own personality, and yet they are a region, and we believe in a regional economy. It's obviously the way to go. It makes us much more prosperous if we act as a region. That's why our mayors go to Washington, D.C. together and ask for money or for improvements in infrastructure and so forth. So regionalism works as a concept, but what we found out about the cities is they didn't know what the other ones had to offer. And were they willing to brag about what the other ones had to offer? Or were they balkanized to this extent that they would only talk about themselves? So we wanted to foster a philosophy of regionalism where we could advocate for the region as a whole and work with each other's assets to create a really stunning brand. And that's what Innovation Tri-Valley is. Very different from iGate. iGate is obviously one of the things we brag about because it's an amazing thing to work with, and it is an initiative that has been written up widely around the country. The Open Campus is the same way. We all work together very closely, and I think we are creating an amazing narrative. But it became time, we have had a board for 2 years, and it became time for somebody to step off the board and become a staff person, and that was me. Now, the Chamber has really become the infrastructure for Innovation Tri-Valley anyhow, and the lead organization, even though it was certainly not funding it because we don't have money. But the Sybases of the world and the Chevrons of the world have been very generous with us. So this is why I am stepping off the Chamber, which I dearly love, but it's been 9 years. And I love the people there, obviously. I can't let Martha go. She's like, Velcro to the hip. So, but it is time. We have a philosophy. I think that most people here would agree with it. We honor the past. We honor the past, and we are informed by the past. And I thought I also saw Lincoln, and I was just amazed by the relevancy of all of the things that we heard in that movie and how they pertain to us and inform us now. Also, I thought it was the beginning of political consultants too. So, so we honor the past. We are business. We are trying to form a very business-friendly organization so that we can grow businesses here, so we can bring businesses in, so we can scale businesses up. But at the same time, because we started with a sort of a bottom-up philosophy, so we brought in people from the arts and nonprofits and from all over the Tri-Valley, we are environmentally very inclusive in our planning. So it isn't just business, but the interesting thing that we found is business comes to this area for the quality of life. So sometimes they groan and they moan about permits and things like that, but what they come here for is the quality of life. So they see our really great schools, they see that we have beautiful vineyards, that there are open spaces, that everything isn't crammed together, that there is a certain beauty here that is very appealing to them. And ironically, a lot of them come from Silicon Valley because the cost of housing is so much less, which is hard to believe, but because our housing is pretty expensive, but they do come for that as well. So we are a startup, and I know I haven't gotten to the PowerPoint yet, but I'm just trying to explain the philosophy behind it. So we're in permanent beta, which means we will probably never be finished, and I think that's a really smart way to be, because the world is moving exceptionally fast. In case you've noticed, and I'm sure you all have, a lot of you are scientists here. So we are a work in progress. We're probably always going to be a work in progress, but our plans are very iterative. They are very flexible, and we would never even think about what we're going to do in the next 10 years because we have no idea, and neither does anybody else, by the way. So we will learn as we go from people like you and from business as how to create a really effective organization, and it will change as we go. So it will always be informed, but don't think you can set up something that just dictates to the people, this is what you need. That's not what we're going to be. It's going to be inclusive and informed by the people. As I said, the career landscape, as we all know, has changed. It's different, but because the world is a very chaotic place, We are embracing our global economy because it's important to do so if you're going to survive. And we think that conventional thinking is probably pretty disastrous. So you have to change. That's been our philosophy of the Chamber too. Martha can tell you. We change continually, and that's why we have so many initiatives. And that's why we're so unlike any other chamber, because we believe in change and we believe that stasis is death. So you better move forward. So we are very passionate about what we do. That's also very important. And we think that that passion equates far more to someone who is motivated by money Because certainly working in a chamber is not people who are motivated by money. They're motivated by ideas, and that we can have a lot of. So I think in the Tri-Valley, it's very fair to say we're creating the future. You look at what the labs are doing, especially now that they're doing so much more R&D and the openness of their commercialization of technology. I don't know if you do, but I get their newsletter, and I'm talking about both Sandia and Lawrence Livermore, and spin-offs from the lab have potential to make people see and to cure cancer, and many other things, alternate fuel. We are a world-changing region, and we need to tell the world about it. And with that, we are going to bring in much more jobs, and it will be all ships rise with the tide. So that's the philosophy. I'm just going to go through a quick PowerPoint to let you know a little bit more about it. So, we began, as I said, as a business-led organization. The first thing that we wanted to do was align the vision of people across the region. Unless we all know each other and can agree, we're not going to get anywhere. So that aligned vision had to be between public, private, community leaders, and also businesses. And in that, we felt with that aligned vision, we had a tremendous opportunity for job growth and community vitality. And then establish the shared vision. And then to become a leadership group, we don't really call it a leadership group at this point because we thought that sounded a little bit exclusive. There is a Silicon Valley leadership group. It works for them. We may change our names, who knows? But what we're doing, because anybody can be a leader, right? And also anybody can be innovative. So, but what we are is trying to have key organizations help us move forward, and that's imperative because we have to be funded. So a lot of the key organizations have to be organizations that have a good deal of money. So what we have done now is a website, and it is up for any of you who are interested, innovationtrivalley.org. You can move on to the next one. It's done by Tom Petty, who works with us at the Chamber. It has a completely interactive design. So if you are a member, you can upload your own press release and talk about what you're doing. We feel that everything that anybody's doing that's innovative is going to help our brand. So that's why it is so inclusive. I'm not going to go through all of this because you can see it's pretty much but this is what the website looks like with our sponsors. One of the biggest initiatives we have taken on is called permit streamlining. This is what we learned from businesses. We had an innovation forum where we had the head of Chevron, the head of Sybase, George Miller, who when he was heading up Lawrence Livermore, and we also had the CEO of Dev Technology and Cooler Solar. They all said the very same thing across the board, even though they're very different. We would like it to be easier to build our businesses and to scale up. We brought that situation to Joan Buchanan, our assemblywoman, with about 30 people who were involved. And she proposed that she would craft some legislation that would make the Tri-Valley a model for a hyper-local permitting process. That means that you would go through the city and the county, as opposed to just also the state and the federal, because of the tremendous duplication. If you know anything about the mall that just opened, you will know that it was, 26 agencies? I've heard 14 and I've heard 26 too, so you may know that.
More than a dozen.
But it certainly took 7 years, so there you go. That's one of the reasons. And there's tremendous duplication. So if we can get this legislation passed, it will, and Perez is very much on board on this, it will do two things. It will make it easier to create a business and build up. It will also help us brand the area because it will get a great deal of news. The STEM program, we did a 200-page report. No, it's not 200 pages, 112-page report, it seemed like 200, on what the assets were in the Tri-Valley. We found that our school systems rated very high, and we had a wonderful quality of life, and we have a tremendous amount of venture capital coming into this area, which people don't seem to know about. We also have a 40% higher rate of gazelle companies than most any area in the United States. That means fastest growing companies. So the assets, as I said, are here, but we also found out what we didn't have. And one of those were enough STEM programs, science, technology, education, and math in our schools. We went around to a lot of CEOs or C-level executives around the Tri-Valley, and that even in a recession, they said we are having a very hard time filling jobs that are for engineers or technologists or people in those fields. So we have been focusing on that. We can go on to the STEM program. So as I said, we work, and so what we're doing now is partnering education with business. We sent out a survey that was actually prepared by Jay Davis, who is a member of this club. I don't see him going to fall off the podium. That wouldn't be good. But it would be very dramatic. And asking businesses what they needed, but it was prepared also by the teachers. So we have all the superintendent of schools from the 5 cities involved with this, along with their funding programs. And they helped us with the survey, and then businesses gave us feedback on what the needs were. It was very interesting. It was, as you would expect, that we need more people in the STEM program, starting with kindergarten and going on up through college, to provide the type of jobs that they need, because the jobs are going to change radically in the future. So it's not just now, it's what we're going to need in 5 years and 10 years. And the other thing was, how can schools teach critical thinking? Because that's what we need. And we still don't know the answer to that. That's one of the things we're looking at. Can you teach critical thinking? Because every single person rated that as a need. It was a critical thinking ability. And the Tri-Valley, as you know, it's growing. So there's going to be new workers that are needed. And a lot of the people have not been able to acquire some of the capabilities that they need, because everything has changed, and a lot of jobs are not going to come back, especially in a manufacturing economy. So one of the things we're trying to do is create a certificate program for Las Positas, which would take standard manufacturers into the new economy so that they could work at fabs, at places like Lamb, at places like Bridgelux. These companies have told us not only do they need this, but they will pay for it, because we all know that education doesn't have the money. So part of what we're doing as a priority is not only trying to make suggestions that are just like fairy dust, because how do you implement them, right, if you don't have any money, but having business step up and say, okay, we're going to pay for this program because it benefits us. And Chevron has been doing that in a lot of ways already, as have the labs have certainly been doing an amazing job. But what Innovation Tri-Valley is doing is, sort of an overall umbrella approach. So we work with the Tri-Valley Education Collaborative, which is all the education institutions within the Tri-Valley, so that we already know what they need, and then we go to the businesses and find out, and then we put them together as working partners. So.